On average, 2.1 live births per woman would currently keep the population balanced. Many women will usually exceed this limit, having 3 or more children. Unplanned pregnancies result in approximately 40% of the children born. Controlling these pregnancies could create a remarkable improvement. In 2014 so far, 42.21 million children have been born, with 40% of them, around 16.88 million, resulting from unplanned pregnancies. That's more children than the entire population of Chile. This can be limited by providing proper birth control to women and proper family planning in every country. It will become impossible to feed the staggering number of people as the population grows from the current 7 billion to 9.6 billion in 2050. With this estimated population increase of approximately 2.6 billion people, feeding everyone becomes a challenge. Some believe that if the population continues to expand at the present rate, it would take a second Earth to support it by 2050. Currently, we have no way to find and colonize a second Earth, so the thought of needing another planet soon seems insane. We need more arable land for food and more land to live on. We don't have either of them, so our options are severely limited.
Every day we are faced with a plethora of different problems as humans. However, there is one crisis in our world today that is often overlooked. The scary part of it is that the 7 billion people overlooking the problem could be the cause of it. A little over 200 years ago, the human population on planet Earth was 1/7 of what it is today. Currently, there is an estimated 7 billion people on Earth. With the population growing by approximately 74 million a year, that number could be as high as 11 billion in 2050. In fact, from 2005 to 2050, the 9 following countries are expected to account for half of the world's projected population increase: India, Pakistan, Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Bangladesh, Uganda, the United States, Ethiopia, and China. Today, there are 5.3 billion people living in developing nations, and that number is expected to increase to 7.8 billion in 2050. Much of this growth can be attributed to lack of birth control. By contrast, the population of more developed regions of the planet will remain mostly unchanged, with the exception of the United States, which is expected to grow by 44% in that time span. So what's the big concern with the overpopulation crisis? Overpopulation is not only defined by the size or density of a population, but also by the ratio of population to available sustainable resources. It can also be characterized by the way the resources are used and distributed throughout the population. Overpopulation is creating a number of real-world concerns. This short list includes lack of renewable and non-renewable resources, diminishing sustainable food and fresh water supplies, growing disease, epidemics, overcrowding, and environmental pollution. More specifically, water pollution causes approximately 14,000 deaths per day, mostly due to contamination of drinking water by untreated sewage in developing countries. In China alone, 656,000 people die prematurely each year because of air pollution, while in India, air pollution is believed to cause 527,000 fatalities a year. Up to 90% of West Africa's coastal rainforests have disappeared since the 1900s. It has been estimated that about half of Earth's mature tropical forests have been lost to deforestation since 1947. On average, humans consume 388 million barrels of oil a day for fuel, food production, and millions of petroleum-based plastic products. To put that into perspective, the amount of oil released into the ocean during the duration of the BP Gulf of Mexico oil spill was estimated at roughly 4.9 million barrels. In short, this means the more people that you add to our ecosystem, the more strained, sensitive, and volatile it will become. As humans, we often revert to human nature. It is easier to blame someone else or look elsewhere to solve our overpopulation problems, rather than looking within ourselves. Maybe Albert Einstein was right. The problems that exist in the world today cannot be solved by the same level of thinking that created them.
Every 20 minutes, the human population grows by over 3,000 new people. That's the same amount of time that it takes for another plant or animal species to become entirely extinct. The rate of species extinction is roughly 27,000 species per year. The population of the United States tripled during the 20th century. Consumption of raw materials in the same time increased by 17 times. Yet American society is presently much more concerned about population growth than the consumerism growth that it's worshipped. Even if a benign ruler of the world imposed a limit of 2.1 children per family right now, population would continue to increase for a full generation before stabilizing. That's because the current generation of children will grow up to have children, while their parents, and in some cases possibly their grandparents, would still be alive. The freedom to travel, the freedom to visit areas rich in natural resources, the freedom to choose what food you eat, and the freedom to be effectively represented by government will be severely limited by the amount of people that will be on Earth in the future. When you calculate out the anticipated resources that will be available in the year 2100, the optimal world population would be only about 2 billion people. That would give people a standard of living of about half of what Americans would experience in the 1990s. The actual anticipated world population by the year 2100 is currently over 11 billion, according to the UN. It's taken a dozen years for the population of the Earth to increase by 1 billion people. This increase took place from 1999 to 2011. Most of this population increase took place in the developing nations where resources are even more limited than on other first world countries. 1985 was the year that the world's demand for resources first exceeded its supply. Overpopulation is also driven by the ever-increasing life expectancy. The average life expectancy is 79 years old for women and 74 years old for men. As recently as 1950, those life expectancy numbers were 71 years old for women and 66 years old for men. And if you go all the way back to 1900, the numbers are 48 years old for women and 46 years old for men. And that's only in the US. So what will we do to try to stop overpopulation? Will we provide more birth control to all countries, provide ample family planning, or will we just limit the amount of children that will be born by imposing restrictions? Overpopulation is a serious issue, and we need to decide fast what we're going to do in order to control it and stop it.
Every day when Niabel Wall thinks of preparing food for her family of 5, she has only one option: to harvest the wild grass that grows near her home, known locally as wool. The plant grows virtually everywhere in South Sudan, and it is believed to be the only weed holding the deteriorating lives of thousands of people in Upper Nile State from starvation. Once Niabel has collected enough wild grass, she prepares it for cooking. Niabel's nephew, 12-year-old Ruan Gatluak, says he is tired of eating the same thing all the time. Niabel recently traveled for 6 days to look for food, only to come back empty-handed. The nutritional status for children like Goner Pal has increased at an alarming rate in South Sudan as the conflict there continues. Niabel's daughter was suffering from severe acute malnutrition. The child was treated with therapeutic food in an effort to bring her back to good health. The dream of a safe and peaceful South Sudan is becoming a living nightmare for children. As the tireless efforts to deliver humanitarian assistance continue, hundreds of thousands of children in South Sudan's three most conflict-affected states remain at imminent risk of death and disease.